working to be on your side. You're watching News 10 at 11.
A hiker wheeled into ER after being rescued from a fall below a Sierra dam. And a deadly result from another fall as rescue crews scramble tonight to help hikers in trouble. Good evening, I'm Sharon Ito. A dangerous day in the Sierra for hikers. 2 accidents. In the worst one, a man plunged to his death. That happened in the wilderness near Silver Fork. News 10's Dave Mark was first on the scene, and he joins us live with the story. Dave.
Well, Sharon, the call to 911 came in a little bit after 3:30 that there had been an accident at a popular climbing spot called Sugarloaf near Kybers along Highway 50. Actually, it was a little bit to the north of Kybers, up in the hills alongside the highway. That is about 25 miles to the east of Placerville. But even then, for would-be rescuers, it was too late. The El Dorado County Search and Rescue Team rushed to the scene, then faced a half-hour hike up a rugged hillside to the spot where the climber had fallen.
Anywhere from 100 to 150 feet, and upon impact, he lost his life.
Law enforcement sources say the 2 climbers were apparently not using a safety line. The climbing rope they were using sheared and broke near the top.
I think a rope failed, and the friend at the top was assisted by other climbers. They belayed him down to the bottom, and then another climber called 911.
It took nearly 4 hours for search and rescue workers to retrieve the climber's body and bring it back down to Highway 50.
We just basically was using what lights we had with flashlights and stuff, so it was difficult terrain. We had to take things slow and provide for safety.
Now, the El Dorado County Sheriff's Department is investigating the accident. So far, very little information has been released. Investigators do say that the surviving climber was above the victim when the accident happened. He was not actually inside of the victim when the rope apparently broke. The name of the victim has not yet been released. Search and rescue experts up there say that climbers were just enjoying this very warm weather, many of them in that area, to try to get in one more climb before the end of the season. Back to you.
Dave, you were saying it's early in the investigation. Any way to tell if they were novices or experienced hikers?
We haven't learned anything about that yet. In fact, the Sheriff's Department just getting started on their investigation of all of this, and we expect to have more information released tomorrow.
Okay, thanks, Dave. And there's been another accident, another harrowing rescue of a hiker this evening who fell in some steep terrain, and that accident happened just below the dam at Lake Clementine in Placer County. Searchers found her stranded below some rocks, her ankle badly broken. 29-year-old Tamara Guillory arrived at Sutter Roseville Hospital this evening. A rescue helicopter had to pluck her from a tight spot below the dam. Doctors say she is in moderate condition tonight. The FBI has helped Sacramento Sheriff's investigators search at least 3 states looking for a missing Elk Grove girl. But hope is fading. She'll be found alive. 6-year-old Alexia Riel hasn't been seen since summer, and her parents are accused of a terrible crime against her older sister. News 10's George Warren has the latest tonight.
While sheriff's detectives still hope to find 6-year-old Alexia Riel alive, they've dug up the backyard of her family's home because they fear the worst.
We really don't know. She still could be alive somewhere. That's a good possibility. But we also can't ignore the possibility that she's met with foul play.
Investigators describe a terrible home life for Alexia and her 13-year-old sister on this quiet street. Locked in closets, forced to sleep in this shed with dogs, rarely allowed to leave the home, apparently. Here's a neighbor of 10 years.
I was really shocked that that they even had children living here.
You never saw them?
No. No.
What does that tell you about the family life?
I don't know what was going on. I really don't know.
Deputies didn't even know Alexia was missing until they discovered her 13-year-old sister had been doused with bleach in some bizarre ritual to exorcise the demons.
The parents believed in the occult. There's no doubting that. They believed in Satan and the devil, and that's one of the reasons they were trying to exorcise the demons from both of their girls.
While the search continues for the 6-year-old who lived in this house, others worry about her older sister, now physically safe, but coming from such a destructive environment.
Because a child that age is so dependent on their caregivers that when, especially with this extreme of abuse, it's going to affect her ability to learn, it's going to affect her socially, affect her future relationships with people, her ability to trust.
The mother and stepfather of the 2 girls are being held without bail tonight, charged with felony child abuse and possession of methamphetamine. The charges against Barbara and Larry Carrasco could be upgraded, of course, Sharon, depending on the outcome of the search for Alexia.
And those neighbors there knew so little. Thank you, George. Startling new court records from the Unabomber case reveal an angry childhood for suspect Theodore Kaczynski. His defense lawyers have been hinting at possible mental health problems stemming from his childhood. Court records obtained by the San Francisco Examiner show that Kaczynski's brother David told FBI agents Theodore Kaczynski felt a lot of rage toward his parents. It's best revealed in a note he wrote to them saying, "I can't wait until you die so I can spit on your corpse." In one letter to his brother David, he wrote that there are lots of people I'd like to hurt. But in another letter, he goes on to say, "The reason I've never committed any crime is that I have been successfully brainwashed by society." Kaczynski's trial on the deadly bombings begins in Sacramento in a week and a half. His defense lawyers may insist that these angry, disturbing letters could help prove he was mentally incompetent. Tow truck drivers rolled into Stockton in a long procession to remember a murdered fellow driver. James Loper was shot to death in a phony call for help last week. News 10's Dion Anglin reports on today's unique and emotional memorial.
For his final ride aboard a tow truck, fellow drivers lifted James Loper's casket onto one of his company's trucks. Tow truck drivers from as far away as Oakland here for the funeral procession of one of their own, a fellow driver, a husband and father of two, gunned down while on the job.
It's a powerful thing. I mean, to look at it and to know it, it's very powerful. It's going to be a good end to this kind of situation.
It's a wonderful feeling. I not only lost a husband, but I gained a whole family. It's wonderful.
The procession of more than 100 tow trucks, some with black stripes and ribbons, honoring Loper. The sight drew the attention of many as people stopped to watch and even wait.
We're laying James to rest today. We're saying our final goodbye, but we're not going to lay in rest until this person is apprehended.
Let ye sorrow not, even as others which have no hope. Now, it's okay to have sorrow today. It's okay to have tears.
A graveside service is tearful and full of emotion.
Confidence and the hope and the assurance.
Because there's so many of us out there doing a job like this, and every call you get, you never know who's there or who you're going to see. You're just out there to help the person. So it just kind of gets to you.
Through all of this, folks, don't become bitter. Become better.
Dion Anglin, News 10.
Many of those same tow truck drivers have also pitched in for a reward to find the killer of James Loper. That reward totals nearly $4,000. Other news, the visit to the U.S. by China's president ended in California and ended the way it began, with protests. Jiang Zemin met privately with Governor Pete Wilson in Los Angeles. That meeting followed by a luncheon with business and political leaders. Jiang mentioned a new GM plant that will open in China next year as an example of stronger ties, but he could not escape the constant criticism on the issue of human rights.
We would like to see he do something real instead of just making a public relation gimmick.
Jiang asked his California audience for patience and cooperation, quoting a Chinese proverb that a 10,000-mile journey begins with the first step. He returns to China tomorrow. Oprah Winfrey not only starred in Before Women Had Wings tonight, she had an emotional stake in the story of alcoholism and abuse, one that could be told in thousands of families today. In a minute, we will tell you and give you information on how to get help for those of you in need. But first, News 10's Christina Mendoza talks with Oprah about why this movie was so important.
Child, how'd you get so lucky to be named after one of God's prettiest birds?
In Before Women Had Wings, Miss Zora becomes Bird's light, a source of wisdom and love to help her make sense of a painful life.
I felt like I was wearing 1,000 layers of clothes that she took off me one piece at a time, so I could finally get a good long look at myself.
Earlier this week, Oprah told me Before Women Had Wings touched her deeply when she read the book.
You said you read this book in one night. What in it reached out and grabbed you and made you want to do this project so badly?
Well, I think that the character Bird, the voice of the 10-year-old girl who's being abused, is a voice that I've heard in my own head. I've been that character. That is what reached out to me and made me want to let her voice be amplified throughout the country.
Baby. Oh, baby.
Oprah says she based her character, Miss Zora, on people who inspired her throughout her own life.
Ms. Zora was Ms. Eddins, who is my godmother now. Ms. Zora was Maya Angelou. Ms. Zora was a couple Sunday school teachers that I had. So she is a compilation of all women who I knew who were nurturing and caring and supportive and who said, baby, you can be somebody.
Before Women Had Wings is one of a multi-movie deal Oprah's production company has with ABC. She says she wants to make the kind of movies she'd like to watch.
I have to ask you, are you having fun?
I have fun. I asked people last year to start keeping a grateful journal, and that's one of the most fun things I do all day is list the things I did that day that brought me a sense of pleasure, happiness, thankfulness, gratefulness. It changed my life when I started keeping a grateful journal because you realize that it's the little moments. It's like in this character that I play, it's the little moments that she extends to Bird that makes the difference. It's the little moments in all of our lives that really make the difference.
Christina Mendonça, News 10.
And now alcoholism and abuse harm so many families, so tonight we have some helpful resources. For victims of alcohol or child abuse, the National Child Abuse Hotline is toll-free. It can offer referrals and handle crisis calls. Family First, with a Sacramento number, offers help or resources to anyone whose family is in trouble. And the California Youth Crisis Line is especially geared toward kids. One more number, Al-Anon offers support for alcoholics and their friends and loved ones. They are necessary medical tests that can save your life, but an everyday activity could give you the wrong results.
And then the cream gets into the coffee, and that totally follows up the test.
Advice you need to keep critical checkups from delivering a false positive. That's next. Plus, a final farewell for a killer whale that thrilled generations of Valley spectators.